A week before the race at Iowa, the owner of Trackhouse Racing went on SiriusXM and made a very specific, very public prediction about Shane Van Gisbergen. Justin Marks said that when you look at Iowa and Richmond, he thought those tracks were similar enough to North Wilkesboro that the team could feel pretty confident. Because Van Gisbergen had just finished 5th at North Wilkesboro, the best oval run of his career. That was a real testable claim. Iowa tested it, and Van Gisbergen finished 30th, 3 laps down. Now here's why this matters far more than one bad Sunday. Because Van Gisbergen has publicly laid out his own formula for surviving this stretch of the season. A simple, modest, entirely achievable plan in his own words. And Iowa was almost the exact photographic negative of that plan. So today, let's look at the prediction that just got tested, the survival formula that just got broken, whether the underlying logic was actually wrong or whether Iowa was a genuine outlier, and why this coming weekend at Richmond is now the most important race of Shane Van Gisbergen's season. Stay with me. Welcome back to Freedom Line News, the channel where we don't just chase the drama, we break down what really happened. If you're new, hit subscribe. This community is growing every week. Let's get into it. Let's start with the formula, because Van Gisbergen has been refreshingly plain about it. He knows he isn't going to outmuscle the field on ovals in his second full Cup season, so his stated approach has been about accumulation, not heroics. In his own words, he just has to do his best every week and keep improving, and not do anything stupid. Accumulate points. He specifically said he can't get into stupid accidents like the one at Pocono. And then, he gave the actual target, which I think is the most honest thing any driver has said about their own position all season. 10th to 15th is good enough for us. Better if they can manage it, and try to grab stage points, which he admits has always been the difficult part for him on ovals. And then the mechanism that makes all of it possible. Qualify well, start up front. That is a genuinely smart, self-aware plan. It's a driver who understands he doesn't need to win anything. He needs to avoid disasters, bank steady finishes, and let his road course wins carry the weight they've already earned. His crew chief, Stephen Doran, pointed at the same lever from the other direction, that what they need is better qualifying, to be able to start better in some of these races, because Trackhouse's recurring weakness this year has been exactly that. So measure Iowa against that plan, point by point, and it's almost uncomfortable. Qualify well and start up front. He ended stage 1 running 23rd. Don't do anything stupid. He spun the car by himself on lap 91, with nobody near him. Accumulate points and finish 10th to 15th. 30th, 3 laps down. Grab stage points, none worth speaking of. Every single element of his own stated survival formula failed in the same afternoon. And it's worth saying plainly that this wasn't a case of getting caught up in someone else's wreck, which is the kind of bad luck you can shrug off. There was a genuine mechanical and setup problem. His cooling system failed during stage 1, and he described a car that felt like it had flat tires all race. But from a championship points perspective, the cause doesn't matter. The scoreboard doesn't record why you finished 30th. It just records that you did. So where does that leave the actual arithmetic? Before Iowa, Van Gisbergen sat 15th in the standings, with a 57-point cushion over the chase cut line, with 4 races remaining. That was a comfortable-ish position, not safe, but workable. Iowa cut into it, and here's the number that should worry anybody following this closely. According to NASCAR's own analysis heading into Richmond, just 68 points now separate 6 drivers fighting over the final 2 spots in the chase field. 6 drivers, 68 points, 3 races. Van Gisbergen is described as the best positioned of that group right now, which is genuinely good news. But best of the bubble is a fragile place to be. In that kind of cluster, a single bad race doesn't just cost you a few points. It can flip you from inside to outside in one afternoon, because everyone around you is close enough to jump. Iowa was one such afternoon. He can't afford a second one. Now here's the genuinely interesting question, and I want to be careful and fair with it, because the lazy take would be to declare Justin Marks simply wrong and move on. The case that he was wrong is straightforward. He said Iowa was similar enough to North Wilkesboro to feel confident, Van Gisbergen finished 5th at North Wilkesboro and 30th at Iowa. That is a 25-position gap between two tracks that were supposedly comparable. On the raw result, the prediction failed completely. But the case that he was right, and that Iowa was an outlier rather than a refutation, is honestly stronger than it looks. Because the North Wilkesboro run wasn't a fluke result you can wave away. Van Gisbergen led laps there. He scored stage points in every single stage. NASCAR's own coverage described his short track ability as having taken an obvious step forward. That is a broad, multi-layered performance, not one lucky finish. And at Iowa, the failure had identifiable causes that had nothing to do with track type. The cooling system going down in stage 1. A car he described as feeling like it had flats from the beginning. And most tellingly of all, his two Trackhouse teammates finished 7th and 11th in that same race. If Iowa's track characteristics were genuinely the problem for that organization, all three cars would have struggled. They didn't. One did. So the honest reading is that Marx's underlying thesis, that Van Gisbergen's short track improvement is real and transferable, has not actually been disproven by Iowa. It's been obscured by it. And that's exactly why this weekend matters so much. Richmond is the second half of the same prediction. It's the clean test that Iowa never got to be. And there are real reasons for cautious optimism at Richmond specifically. He finished 14th there last summer, right inside the 10 to 15 window he himself described as good enough. Analysts have also pointed out that Richmond rewards a particular skill he already has. He's one of the drivers who can save tires while running the higher groove, which is a genuine, transferable strength rather than wishful thinking. But the warning signs are equally real, and I don't want to sugarcoat them. His own assessment of his weakest area is blunt. He says he's still weak on intermediates, and reckons that's probably his lowest-ranked track type. Trackhouse's qualifying problem hasn't been solved. And Marx himself, for all his public confidence, has been careful to temper it, calling this an execution game right now and stressing that they can't give anything up through mistakes. That's an owner who knows the margin is thin, so the season now compresses into 3 races. Richmond, where he has genuine history and a skill that suits the place. New Hampshire, where he was running inside the top 10 on merit last year before getting turned around. And then Daytona, which is a lottery for everybody in the field. If the North Wilkesboro version of Shane Van Gisbergen shows up at Richmond this weekend, the Iowa result becomes a footnote, a bad car on a bad day, nothing more. If the Iowa version shows up instead, then a rookie season road course phenomenon who has genuinely improved all year could still miss the chase entirely. That's the whole story now, and it starts Saturday night. So now I want to hear from you. Was Justin Marks wrong about Iowa and Richmond being comparable to North Wilkesboro, or was Iowa simply a broken car masking real progress? And do you think Shane Van Gisbergen holds on and makes the chase across these last 3 races, or does the bubble finally swallow him? Drop it in the comments, hit like, and subscribe to Freedom Line News, where we cover every NASCAR story with the detail it actually deserves. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.